into the Rion Frequency, where truth cuts deep, growth hits different, and culture leads the conversation. Hosted by Rion, this is the Come Up for the Culture.
I want to speak about black excellence. The fact that my brown skin feels heaven sent. When the wind blows, I feel the touch of heaven's breath. You brainwash your intelligence is evident. Evidence we built some pyramids they claim it's aliens. Melanin skin absorbs the light inside you radiant. Elevate your conscience, stuck inside the office. Employee of the month, they won't even put that in your coffin. Let's talk about the profit, the margins of spilled your bonnet. Drinking water from your faucet, just to give you droplets. But you in the club, it's popping. Penny, that's the option. Pictures that you prompted, but forget it cause you locked in. Living in the moment. Ryan said it's token, if you black, poor, you broken. Black excellence, when they spill our blood, it's golden. The third eye, the karmic gates is open, but death is better than bondage. Yeah, that's the option. Stay cautious, stay dangerous.
What's up, world? You are now tapped into the Rion Frequency, and this is where thoughts meet elevation, and we remember who we are. I'm your host, Rion, and before we get started, I just want to say thank you. A special shout out to everybody that's just been tuning in, no matter where you listen at, whether it's YouTube, whether it's you check out the TikTok clips, or you tune in via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts. I just really want to say thank you. We are officially 10 weeks into this thing, and honestly, with this just being my passion project, I never really thought that honestly anyone would listen to this, just because it's really just a culmination of my thoughts in self-discovery. So I just really appreciate the feedback that I have got, the love that I've got, and some of the people who don't appreciate what I have to say. I fuck with that too. I appreciate the criticism. So yeah, man, I just want to say thank you to everyone. I want to make sure that y'all get plugged in with me. The website is almost ready, but the email is definitely live, so you can reach me at Rion@therionfrequency.com. But I do want to hear from y'all. I want y'all to know that the topics and like whatever else comes to mind, like I just really want to hear from you. I also want to plug my socials in there for whatever reason. People like to know what I'm doing outside of the podcast, so you can always follow me on TikTok. I'm usually more active there. Where you just catch me talking shit, usually just giving commentary on whatever comes to mind. You can follow me at RionX_K, and then on IG at RionXKing. So yeah, we're officially back. Like we're back this week. I'm feeling a lot more refreshed. I'm feeling a lot more energized. I hope that y'all are feeling the same. Like last week was intense. It was really intense, and I felt like I had to do, just a little bit of emotional regulation, because for parts of last week was just honestly just too much for me to handle. and some days I get like that. I feel like, just being the like empathetic type of person that I am, I absorb a lot of energy, and last week's energy was just completely overwhelming. But I did do some coping, and typically my coping just involves me just kind of immersing myself into things that, make me feel comfortable, or things that I'm very, in tune and passionate about. So I was listening to the Grits and Eggs podcast. If y'all don't know who Deontay Kyle is, you should. He's a wonderful voice for, the black community, and he just keeps it real. But he was hosting Amanda Seale, which I was happy to see. And the dialogue honestly was just much needed. It was energizing. You know what I'm saying? It was just refreshing to hear from, like the more radical folks, because, it's just exhausting. It's exhausting being black, but it's also exhausting, being more radically black and pro-black than anything. So I was listening, and I was immediately drawn to the conversation that they were having, especially as it was pertaining to when Amanda was talking about how the overlapping of capitalism and racism in this country just are just key components of what is bringing down the black community. And recently, I listened to a lecture by Professor Jiang. I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly, but If I am saying it incorrectly, y'all correct me. And it was about consumerism and just how it is really the perfection of slavery. In the lecture, he explains that at its core, capitalism isn't really satisfied with its own survival or sufficiency. It requires perpetual growth, and to foster that growth, you have to create perpetual consumers. And he frames consumerism not just as like a practice, but really just as an ideological project. It convinces individuals that identity, happiness, and even freedom, are expressed through consumption. So instead of asking, like, what do I need to live well, we are always pushed to ask, like, what can I buy to prove who I am? And this in turn leads to corporations, companies, and other enterprises to expand their markets, increase their profits, and push production forward, like without any real limitations. And there's a problem to this, which is really what we have been witnessing over the past 30 years of the decline in basically the quality of our lives, because as we see it, the basic needs that humans have today are still not even being met just by like even something as simple as just holding a job. We have unprecedented stagnation in wages, and then you couple that with inflation. So once people's basic needs aren't met, that growth tends to stall. And this is where consumerism really steps in to shine. Because no matter how broke or rich you are, consumerism is still a thing. It shifts the terrain of capitalism from meeting the needs of people and really to just manufacturing a desire. And by making these wants seem endless, capitalism sustains its own survival. And we're going to expand on that in just a minute. But I'm an avid reader, and if y'all don't know, I'm the type of nigga that I will go out in pursuit of any and all knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I can get game from you, I'm going to get game from you. And then I'm going to take that same knowledge. I'm going to soak up as much as possible. And then I'm going to try to give it back to my people. If they don't know, or if I don't know, or if, my circle don't know, like I'm the person that I'm always just in pursuit of knowledge. So a while ago, I read a book called The Psychology of Money, which is actually behind me. And I had heard about the book, you know what I'm saying? Like I saw the summaries and shit on YouTube, and I was always really intrigued. But I was just never really called to read it for whatever reason. I'm a pretty spiritual person, so I do believe in like divine timing. And so this was one of those things where I just don't think that like I was ready to receive the information until I did read it. And when I did read the book, it was only after there was a shift really in my own psychology of money, and wealth. And this was after a catastrophic failure that, that almost left me bankrupt. You know what I'm saying? So if you haven't read the book, I implore you, to read it, to cop it. I get my books from a discount store online. It's called Book Outlet for anybody who's interested. But you know what I mean? I order, 10, 15 books for $150. Now, while we're on the topic of consumerism, that is my vice as a consumer. But to me, it feels more like an investment than it is a consumption. But we'll get to that in just a second. But as I said, if you haven't read it, I strongly encourage you to read it. So we're going to have a conversation as to really just diving deep into some of the principles inside of the book and really direct that conversation as to how racism is the ultimate side effect of capitalism. You know what I'm saying? And capitalism is driven by consumerism. And black folks have been psychologically trapped into the machine of capitalism by becoming the ultimate consumer. And in the streets, the trap is somewhere that that you have to go back to. It's like you can't escape it. And if you thought that you was hustling, the truth of the matter is that like it's just one big hamster wheel. It's a trap, and the system is honestly hustling you. And that's really where consumerism is and how consumerism plays in our society and in our culture. It is a gigantic trap for black people. So money's not just paper, it's psychology. It's power. And if we being honest, for a lot of us, it's our identity. You know what I'm saying? And we've been running around in this trap, the trap of consumerism. So a system that tells us to spend, you know what I'm saying? Like, we gotta flex, we gotta show our shit off. We've been convinced to never own, to never invest, you know, to never build. So when we look at progress as a whole and progression as a people, we ultimately only ever see stagnation, and that kills me, because this trap, it wasn't by accident. It was built at the intersection of capitalism and racism is consumerism, and it's designed to keep us from building. So the first things first is that money is so much more than just, you know, dollars and cents. It's psychological, my nigga. Like, and don't let anybody ever tell you that it's just money. It's just money. No, money make you feel things. Money makes you feel things. Money makes you feel secure. It makes you feel validated. Sometimes, you know, to some niggas, it even make you feel superior, you know, if you got it stacked right. And psychologists will call that dopamine hits. You know, if you ever swiped your card and, you know, you done copped you some new kicks, or, you know what I'm saying, like whatever it is that you buy, that's that dopamine hit. Not only is it like the retail therapy that leaves you kind of like in a state where you feel like you're floating and you're happy, you know, but this is your brain literally like, I'm like on capitalism, nigga, like on drugs, because you get trapped into this dopamine hit where you need it, where you consistently need to consume things to feel things. And that's the new crack rock. You know what I mean? Like, black purchasing power of our community, you know, in the 90s when I was growing up, was about $458 billion. And by the end of this year, it's going to be around $2 trillion. $2 trillion with a T, with a fucking T, trillion. And the issue is that purchasing power has not translated into actual wealth, though. Okay, so we don't buy things for us and then try to turn it into ownership. We buy to prove something. Prove that we belong. Prove that we made it. Prove that, you know, that we're not who the world says that we are. We not broke niggas or broke in niggas. And for a lot of us, money is less about utility, and it is more about that identity. And that's why a lot of niggas out here will finance their own validation, you know, on Klarna or Afterpay. You know, like, it's their personality trait. And you're not just buying a shirt, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're buying a feeling, the feeling of being made, or the feeling of being superior. You're buying validation. And that's what consumerism, that's what they want you, like, this is what capitalism as a whole wants you to do. They have trained you to be a consumer so that you will fall in line. You will always buy shit. You need more. As black folks, many of us don't understand the psychology or our own psychology when it comes to our money. You know, we don't understand why we do the shit that we do with our dollars. We just do the shit, you know, and we do it in the name of a flex, you know, of, you know, a little bit of bragging rights or whatever it is. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, just the only thing is just validation. We are doing it to be validated, usually by people that we don't like and people that we honestly don't respect. But you know what I'm saying? Like, when enlightened people come into the conversation and understand enough about hyper consumerism and capitalism and tries to tell, you know, other niggas like, hey bro, like, we should turn this into an investment. We should do something differently. You know, we should take this money and open up a business and enterprise and exit the game of individualism and capitalism and really return to community. Niggas accuse you of the very first thing is either you're broke or they act like their possessions equal assets. And most of them are always depreciating in value, if we're being for real. You know, there's a few chapters in the psychology of money that I really want to talk about that I feel like everyone should become familiar with the first being chapter 9. Wealth is what you don't see. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Wealth is what you don't see. Riches is what you do see. Okay, niggas love to flex. Like, That's just what it is. Niggas love to flex. They flex their chain, they watch, their shoes, belt, car. It don't matter. It does not fucking matter. Rims, all of it. They outfit, it does not matter. Niggas love to flex. But understanding that wealth is everything that you don't see. Whenever I see a nigga with a Gucci belt, you know what I'm saying, or a closet full of Jordans, I'm not knocking you, bro. Get it how you live. But what I see is riches. I see that you had the money to spend and you spent it. Wealth is what you don't see. Wealth is the fact that you didn't spend the money on that shit. You got that shit stashed away, stacked up. And I'm not saying that you can't have those things. I'm not saying that you shouldn't buy things. Shit, I buy things. I just don't do it for validation. I don't buy those J's to say I got those J's. I don't wear J's at all. Shit, nigga, if we being for real, I wear Crocs because I'm old and I like comfort before anything. If niggas don't, to my point, what I'm trying to say is, if niggas don't see a chain or a Rolex, their automatic assumption is, oh, that nigga broke. Oh, that nigga broke. Oh, if he don't drive a brand new car, oh, that nigga broke. Too broke to afford it? Sure. In some cases, some people just simply can't afford it. You know, like the status of how rich they are can't determine or can't justify, in this case, how much they can spend on that. I don't know. Nigga like me, I got kids. You know what I'm saying? I had to fund college funds. You know what I'm saying? I had to fund their own investments. You know, all my kids got brokerage accounts. You know what I'm saying? Setting up trusts, depositing money into those trusts and making sure that my kids are set. You know what I'm saying? Life insurance policies, etc. But if you don't see value in those things, you know what I'm saying? To a nigga who loves to consume and who is stuck in this trap of consumerism, what I'm doing doesn't make sense. On the flip side of it, you know what I mean? I know niggas out here with children, with Gucci belts and all that other shit, but nigga ain't got no life insurance policy. It doesn't quite make sense to me. I'm not judging. I'm just saying we got to do better. That starts with understanding why you bought the belt, nigga. That's it. Why you buy that shit? Because if it wasn't for you, and if it was for you to go flexing and doing everything else, then we need to get down to the psychology of our spending habits, our money, where that comes from, and why we do the things that we do. So with it being, with wealth being something that we don't see, okay, no one can see my investment accounts. You know, no one can see my trading income and all of my passive income that I make. Niggas truly have developed the mentality that if they can't see it, it doesn't exist. And now, as a nigga who's been a consumer, okay, you learn very quickly things are just things. They are. Nothing made me feel any differently than I don't feel more pride with, you know, driving a $100,000 car versus driving a $30,000 car. There's no difference. Sure, maybe a few luxury features, but from a very fundamental perspective of what the vehicle is intended to do, there is no difference. It just ride. Niggas have developed this mentality that if they can't see it, then it doesn't exist. Wealth doesn't exist unless you are wearing it in a chain or unless you are driving it. And that is not wealth. That is riches. And some of y'all niggas go broke to look rich. We not doing that though. The flex is a demonstration of purchasing power. How much you can afford. Or in some cases, can't even fucking afford. A lot of y'all niggas financing that shit and putting yourself in dire situations. Personally, like the idea of commas in the bank. You know what I mean? And ownership of assets, appreciating assets, rather than trying to prove shit to people that I don't give a fuck about. And as a community, we need to do better. We got to stop trying to validate ourselves through possessions to other niggas and to white folks. I stopped giving a fuck. Like, this was long before I read The Psychology of Money, but I stopped giving a fuck about what people thought, like whether they thought I had money or not. I don't care what you fucking think. It's none of your business what I have. Now, if I choose to share that information with you, that's different. But I learned a long time ago that the Joneses are broke. Everybody be trying to keep up with the Joneses. New phone, new car, new crib, new this, new that. Everything. Just the ultimate consumers are broke, and I know that. They finance everything and live for the latest things, which is fine if that's what you want to do, but I don't like being a slave to a job. I haven't had a job in almost 10 years. And people are like, you're proud of that? Of course I am. Because there's freedom in that. What I found in being unemployable, and not because I don't have any skills, because I don't want to be a slave. I don't want to be a slave to a job. They are slaves to their job because they have to keep up with the payments to obtain the image. Because if the image is fractured, then people might actually find out the truth, which is either I don't have the money that I say that I do, or I am trying to portray said image that makes me feel like I am something. You are insecure and you are just trying to prove to others what you got. But if you stop chasing, then you would finally be free. The new chains is consumerism. That's the new slavery. That is what Professor Jiang is talking about, where consumerism is a perfection of slavery. It keeps you in line. Most niggas won't get up and revolt around any of the shit that's going on, like from a geopolitical stance. Y'all niggas too worried about whether you can afford to. Because everything financed. In chapter 3 of The Psychology of Money, Morgan Housel talks about never enough. The idea of just always wanting more, in the pursuit of wanting more. Even the people that have the most. And to anyone that's like pursuing this, like I remember I consider her my godmother. You know, she's like my second mom. She's honestly more of a mom to me than my own mother. And she asked me years ago, when I was, I believe in capitalism. Now, I know that is a very controversial statement, but I do believe in capitalism. I believe in conscious capitalism, but I do believe in capitalism. And I've been in pursuit of, I've been in this wealth race for some time. And I've been successful in my own right. But she asked me, like, when is it going to be enough? And I couldn't answer that question. During the time my wife and I were going through a lot, we were having a lot of problems. And I think that most of it is attributed to the fact that, my focus was primarily on money. Not because I didn't have any, not because we didn't have enough. We have plenty, I just was always in pursuit of more. There was never enough. And what dawned on me after reading this chapter is, thinking about people, like Bernie Madoff, who already had, multi-million-dollar business, very successful in his own right, but just couldn't fathom the idea of not having more. So continued to do that until he had to pay the ultimate price, which was his freedom. And I look at that and I think to myself, like, damn, like, that was my mentality. Like, I was willing to do anything and everything to get to the next level. Not only does that shake your morality, but my God, bro, like, I can't even begin to tell you what that does in a sense of being a consumer, because there's always somebody that got more than you. So you're always trying to one up that person. And once I shed that mentality, just like, and I decided to tell myself what was enough. Did I need a new car? No. Do I want one sometimes? Yeah. But am I going to go cop one? Probably not. Do I like to see commas in the bank opposed to, the whip having rims or whatever? Yeah. So I'm going to save more money than I do anything else. Do I consume? Absolutely. I consume with intention. But I also put a mile marker on what is enough. What is my enough? And it's not that settling is, a lot of people look at that, well, I'm settling, I'm not exacting my potential. And that's not necessarily true. So no matter how how much or how little you got, there's always going to be someone that has more than you. And instead of asking ourselves now, like what do I need to live, we started asking, like what can I buy to prove who I am. And that's why, the Gucci and the Louis and all the designer bullshit that niggas flex on IG to perpetuate certain lifestyles, that celebrities live knowing damn well themselves. Like, nigga, them celebrities broke as fuck too. If we being honest, you know what I mean? They sold us symbols and then they called it freedom. Ironically, these same symbols, my nigga, like, those are today's chains. My niggas so invested in sneakers. You know what I mean? Like, but niggas don't know shit about no stocks, no bonds. You know what I'm saying? Niggas will camp out in lines and motherfucking lotteries before they will ever touch a book and learn financial literacy. That is a problem. But one thing that we got to do is we have to make financial literacy fun. You know what I mean? We have to make it. We have to gamify it in such a way that it becomes something that is palatable to black folks, because most black folks don't want to learn financial literacy. A lot of times is because what we talked about in episode 2, which is, like these generational curses. A generational curse is like niggas flossing, depreciating assets and then convincing a generation of children that them same things are important. You know what I mean? Like, my kids, they look at a lot of things, they consumers themselves. They hyper consumers themselves. And even with the knowledge that I have, and I kick to them, I can't stop my son, my oldest son. I can't stop that nigga from buying the shit that he does. I tell him all the time, like, what you doing at Saks Fifth Avenue, nigga? You ain't got money like that. Not yet. I'm buying you buying it because you need to feel seen. You're not buying that shit because it's actually fucking valuable. You buying that shit because you need to feel seen. And you need to stop. You want to pull yourself out of the situation that you're in. You want to have access to the things that we've set up for you. Then you're gonna have to demonstrate some financial responsibility, some financial literacy. And the only way that we can do that is by stop being consumers of everything. Everything that's sold is what we buy. Why you think they incorporate hip hop in all of the fucking advertising now? Yeah, because hip hop is popping. Yeah, because our culture is popping. Yes. But we are the consumers. We're the target demographic in 99% of things. Because they know that with that $2 trillion, purchasing power, most of us gonna spend it. Most of us is gonna spend that money. We gotta turn hustles, because I know niggas will forever hustle, and I get it. Some people gotta do what they gotta do. Again, I'm not judging. You know what I'm saying? Like, once you get to a certain point, like, you gotta turn that hustle into a legitimate business or something that's legit. And if you a hustler, like, as I believe, like, you can get money anywhere, nigga, whether it be in the streets or out. The issue with most niggas is honestly greed. Like, that's where we got to. I was listening to Deontay talk about capitalism, on the Grits and Eggs podcast, and my nigga was spot on with that shit. Most niggas now are just greedy. It's not about services. It's not, it's not about their own business models. They're not trying to expand shit. And I get a lot of slack from black folks, especially when I talk about black businesses, because I'm not just going to support you because you're a black business. Like, I love black businesses, absolutely. And I'm definitely, I want to spend my money with you first. But if you're trying to commodify everything to the point where, you know what I'm saying, like, it's not even, the value of my dollar can't even go anywhere, because it's all you're looking at this like an opportunity, not, and it's just simply a transaction. Like, we not building anything. It's hard, bro. That's all I'm saying. Like, it's just, it is difficult. This is that run off on the plug type of instinctive, like, survival, of just not having enough. And that's what niggas do. I see this a lot of time with, like, barbers, especially. Before I started to learn to cut my own fucking hair because I was just tired of the shit. it was just that, you know what I'm saying? I was setting appointments for niggas to be cutting 5 other heads in front of me. You know what I'm saying? Like the level of service that I was receiving just didn't match the value. And at some point in time, like, we got to be accountable to that. If I'm going to consume with you, you know, and if we're going to be consumers and we're going to consume with each other, you know what I'm saying? So that our money, our dollars stay within our communities, we're going to have to be more accountable to the services that we are providing, you know, and the type of business that we do. It's got to be good business. Okay, I'm getting a little off topic, so, you know, I got to flip this right back because, you know, a nigga can rant. But on the flip side, you know, when niggas do decide that they get the bag, you know, they can't keep their ass out the motherfucking streets. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand this shit. They gun cases, RICOs, all that shit. Like, nigga, get your ass up out the streets. Nigga, go build. You know what I'm saying? Build you some real estate. You know, build you, you know, build you some equity in something. You know, sell it off. You know, get back to your community. Do something else. Niggas always got to be thugs and shit. Stop that shit. That shit is wild, bro. But that is perpetuated in our culture from a consumer standpoint. You know, we gonna consume. We gonna consume everything, including our own freedom. Things are not limited. Consumption is not just the idea that we are buying and purchasing shit. Most of what we're talking about is, yes. But when you're a consumer, you will essentially absorb and eat anything. And if you're that type of person, I want you to understand that, like, you're closer to your own demise than you think. And this boils down to just, when is enough gonna be enough? You know what I mean? When are you gonna be satisfied? I saw somewhere, I don't know if it was on TikTok or Reels. I'm chronically online. I have to be, just because I got to keep up with everything that's going on. It was along the lines of, it's not your fault of what happens to you, but it is your fault if you don't heal from it. And this situation, when it comes to money, especially with black folks, is no different, my nigga. Like, it's no different. It is not your fault, okay, that we've been sold these symbols. It's not your fault that these ideals and the things that we value have been sold to us. It is your fault if you do nothing to change that legacy and the trajectory of your legacy. I don't come from money. You know what I'm saying? Like, my people, as far as, like, I don't know my dad, but when it comes down to my mom, like, she don't come from money. And all the things that I've acquired through learning, through reading, you know what I'm saying, and learn and put into action was because I honestly wanted to change the trajectory of my legacy from you know what I'm saying, from my kids to all the way through. Like, I'm not thinking just like, oh, day to day. And I understand that a lot of people are thinking like this because a lot of people live in survival mode. You know what I'm saying? How can you plan for the next 10 years, the next 15 years, the next 20 years? Nigga, if you can't even see into tomorrow. I get it. But we got to start making small changes. It's hard to imagine saving when you can't even make ends meet. I get that. But we got to start somewhere. We have to start with information. If you can't afford to save, shit, take some time. Learn a better budget. You know what I'm saying? Learn a little bit more about credit. Learn something. Because you're going to be able to take that and do something with it. I promise you, it works. From a nigga who was working 2 jobs, just trying to make it, to someone who has been intentionally unemployed for over a decade, I'm telling you, it's worth it. Learn you something. It could change your motherfucking life. What we talking about in regards to consumerism, like, nothing is going to change until we understand the core principle of why consumerism is embedded in our culture like it is our DNA. Okay? Now, don't get it twisted. Okay? Please don't misconstrue what the fuck I'm saying. Our culture is fly. You know what I'm saying? We've been setting trends since trends had names. You know, we make shit move, nigga. We really do. But the system has flipped that on us, and turned it into, new sneakers, new chains, new cars, new watch. And they became more, that became more than just fashion. It became our identity. You know what I mean? The currency for respect. We respect people based off of what kind of shoes they got on. Respect niggas for what kind of watch they have. Respect niggas for what kind of whip they pull up in. No. I'm not about to respect you because, you know what I'm saying, like you got a Benz. I don't give a fuck you got a Benz, nigga. I don't care about that. If your financial literacy is right and you got that Benz, okay, then we cool. But if you got a Benz and no furniture, that's a problem. You financing everything that you got, including your groceries, it's a problem. You got 10 niggas living in a 2-bedroom so that all y'all niggas can stay fly, it's a problem. That's all I'm saying. That respect, that puts in people, that puts in, these young niggas' minds especially. You ain't shit without a Benz. You ain't shit without a bust down. They perpetuate this shit in hip-hop culture, which is demonstrative of what rich looks like, not what wealth looks like. Wealth is the legacy. It's what you don't see. It's definitely what happened, with Allen Iverson. He blew through his whole fucking fortune for identity, only to be broke in the fucking end. And you know what saved him? What you didn't see. You didn't see the trust fund. You didn't see the contractual deal that he had with Reebok. He got trapped into consumerism, and that shit left him broke. What you didn't see was the wealth. The strategy. You look at niggas now, they getting exposed by bitches. I look at Lil Meech, because he's in the headlines right now because, yet again, Selena Powell is putting niggas on blast. Like, I don't know when the fuck y'all niggas gonna learn, but you should probably learn soon. But on the outside, he looked like he balling, but that's an image. He crying on the internet because he wants to uphold what he says his reputation. It's his reputation. No, you focus on your image. You know what I'm saying? You got the Lambos and shit on IG, the chains, the designer clothes. But for real, nigga, you don't have shit. What is that attributed to? Consumerism. Manufactured desires. Consumerism. 50 gave you an opportunity with the bag, and you fumbled it. Why you fumble it? Consumerism. Because you bought shit. Plain and simple. Flexing to look rich, but the more you flex, the further you get from actually being rich. Capitalism don't just want our money. Nigga, it wants our self-worth. It wants everything that it can take from us, and they get it. It wants to turn our whole existence into shopping carts that are financed, brought to you by Afterpay and motherfucking Klarna. We have to stop. Professor Gian calls consumerism the perfectionism of capitalism and slavery. And here's why. So just think about this for a minute, okay? Our labor has been exploited since the cotton fields. They picked us up. We ain't going to go too far into all of those things. We can do that another day. But this country got rich off of our labor, free labor, okay? In addition to other immigrants and other minorities. But it's always been about exploitation. They redlined our neighborhoods and then they targeted us with ads. Liquor, fast food, payday loans. Then our culture became commodified, okay? They take our slang, they take our music, they take our fashion. They sell it all right back to us. Because we don't own shit. Okay, we stay selling it to the highest bidder, only to become a slave to generating respect through the currency of consumption. We end up producing the culture by buying the culture, but never owning the culture. Okay? That's capitalism at its most perfected form. when you are willing to participate in the system, it is going to eat you the fuck alive. So just simply opt out. Stop being a motherfucking hyper consumer. To keep you there, they normalize debt. Buy now, pay later. Credit cards, loans, whatever. To the point, we got dumbass niggas on the internet, okay, talking about paid off cars are not a flex if they're over XYZ. Oh, nigga, no payments is a flex on a depreciating asset, okay? A lot of niggas need to learn the difference between a asset and a motherfucking liability. If that shit is not generating you no fucking income, no nothing, and you are putting money into it every single week, every single month, it is a fucking liability. There is no flexing in that. I don't give a fuck what you drive. I don't fucking care. It doesn't change the definition. I saw a tweet, or maybe it was a thread. Honestly, I can't tell you. I see so much shit on the internet that said that if your car is a 22 or older, you know, it's not a flex. The fuck is wrong with y'all? For real. Like, what the fuck is wrong with y'all? Making payments on a depreciating asset is fucking stupid. Now, I'm not saying that most of us have to. Most of us got to take out car loans. Most niggas is not pulling up to the lot 50 bands, 100 bands strong. If you are, more power to you. One thing I'm not about to do is ever buy a car in cash. We can get to that later. We can talk about financial literacy. Like we can go on about that. But today, I'm going to just tell you, I wouldn't do that. Unless you're actively generating enough passive income to pay for that particular asset. You know what I'm saying? If you got you a $1,200, $1,800, $2,500 car note, if you are going to work for that, you're crazy. No. Because if you're taking your black ass to a job to pay for that shit, nigga, why? Why? Put that shit in an index fund that compounds on an average of fucking 7 to 10% annually. Fuck that car note. $2,500 a month times 12 months times fucking what, 5 years? Is that the average, or is it longer now? Because, you know, niggas will take on fucking 96-month payments and shit. Ain't nothing impressive about that, nigga. That is a demonstration of fucking ignorance. You want to impress a nigga? You know what I'm saying? Max out a motherfucking Roth IRA, you know? We have a lot of shit to fucking unlearn. The true measurement of wealth is fucking freedom. That's the true measurement of wealth. So while y'all niggas is sticking to the rat race, the true measurement of wealth is going to be freedom. Freedom of time. When you become independent of a job, when you become independent of the economy at large, that's true freedom. But the truth is, a lot of us won't shed it. Honestly, you know, that we just won't shed that mentality. The sickest part of consumerism is that it convinces us that happiness and freedom are in the bag. Literally. Like, you could wear them, you could drive it, you know. I'm equal. I made it. The motherfuckers still don't like you. If you got a Benz, you still a nigga in a Benz. You got a Porsche, you still a nigga in a Porsche. The truth is that every time we flex for validation, we reinforce the same fucking system that never validates us in the first place. We buy the fucking dream and then we inherit the debt. We chase status, but the status never belongs to us. Black spending power, as I said, is at this point in time is $1.7 trillion with a motherfucking T. But we own less than 2% of the nation's wealth. How the fuck is that possible? $2 trillion and it's less than 2%? Nigga. I've been in the mall. I seen whole families with no Jordans. You know what I'm saying? Rocking BB belts. For what, nigga? For what? Imagine if that money cycled back into our communities, into co-ops, to land trusts, to, you know, into buildings, and building our own institutions. The system wants you in debt. It wants me in debt. Fuck that, nigga. Fuck that. Chasing trends? No, thank you. Feeling valuable only when we consume. That is what the system wants. That is not economics, my nigga. That is psychological warfare. As long as we embrace it, we are still slaves in their motherfucking game. So here's some things that we need to do first. We got to flip what the flex means. Right now, the flex is a car, a chain, a bag. But the real flex, ownership. Yep. Assets. Land, stocks, businesses. That's flexing. Imagine if the Instagram posts, if it wasn't just the new whip. Shout out to the people that got the new whips without payments. There's the caveat, without payments. Or it's a picture of you closing on a duplex, for some passive income. Imagine if we wasn't just posting just bullshit from, the shit in our closets, but it was more of you setting up a trust fund for your kids. That's flexing that actually multiplies. I spend money. Please don't get this rant wrong. I spend money, absolutely. But I spend it with intention. I never spend money for validation. I never buy shit and think, I want to make sure these niggas think. I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about me. I don't care. In most cases, you're going to catch me out in public looking like a straight ass bum. I drive a normal car everywhere I go. Now, you open them investment accounts, that's a whole different story. You open them high yield savings accounts, that's a whole different story. That's where my flex is. I purchase books, to pass on the knowledge to my children. I invest in their futures because didn't nobody do that shit for me. I teach my kids about money as much as possible and not falling victim to this endless loop of consumerism. I remind them that possessions don't equate to more money. The more debt that you accrue, it does not exemplify wealth, especially if that debt is consumer debt. I teach them that their value is not attached to the logo that is on the front of a car or a metal rope that is wrapped around their neck. A lot of healing needs to happen in our community. In order for us to shed this notion that our value is attached to material possessions, we got to treat financial literacy the same way that we treat sports, the same way that we look at music and our culture, as something that we master together. Just like we study all these bars from Kendrick, we should be breaking down credit scores, compound interest, group economics, in a barbershop. Shit that can be taught. The way that, niggas just broke down Cardi B's new album, about her beef and her baby daddy drama. Fuck all that bullshit. Niggas need to know about the stock market. Niggas need to learn about bonds. Niggas need to learn about REITs. The knowledge is obviously it's gotta feel communal. Cause most niggas is, financial literacy, this shit is corny, nigga. Oh, this shit is corny, nigga. No, it's not corny. It's not. When everybody eats, you know what I'm saying? When the culture wins, nigga, everybody eats. We got to stop thinking individual spending is freedom. Consumerism thrives on isolation and individualism. I got mine, so go get yours. But the real liberation looks like pooling all of our resources. That's what the Panthers did when they had mutual aid programs. That's how they did it on Black Wall Street. In Tulsa, that's how they thrive. Black dollar circulating 36 times in our community before it ever left. So today, most black dollars leave our neighborhoods within about 6 hours. 6 hours, bro. Bring back the co-ops, the credit unions, the investment clubs. Flip the script from consumer to owner. Niggas got to give up that mentality, though. You know what I'm saying? This is not just about money. This is more about the mindset than it is anything. Hyper-consumerism is always tied to someone's self-worth. And a lot of y'all niggas is insecure, bro. We've been conditioned to believe that our values live in what we can show off. So part of the solution, mainly most of the solution, is healing. Reminding ourselves that our kids, that they're not their shoes, they're not the chain, they're not the car, your worth is not for sale, my nigga. Once we break this validation loop, we can spend with intention instead of compulsion. If y'all don't know, Nipsey Hussle is one of my favorite artists, and not because of the music that he put out. Obviously, the music was great, but really just the mind, but the mastery of the mind behind him. And he said, like every man I honored, I had to conquer out the Negro, understanding that identity, the Negro, was given to us and sold to us by the crackers, with whips that are now changing clothes. So I'll leave y'all with that. This is the Rion Frequency. And until the next time, stay royal, stay rooted, and keep that frequency high.
This was the Rion Frequency, where the wealth conversation starts with mindset and ends in legacy. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, rate us 5 stars, drop a review, and help the algorithm find the culture. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, smash the like. The Come Up is now in session.